is teaching you the tips and tricks.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpa Sharma, and this is our editorial analysis. Am I clearly audible and visible to everybody? Very good morning. Can you quickly confirm if I'm clearly audible and visible? Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. If you could confirm that, we shall start with our very, very interesting session today. Yes. Hi, Rajan. I hope I'm clearly audible and visible. Hi, Roosters. If you could very quickly confirm that, my child. Good morning, Prads. Yes, clearly audible and visible. All right. So, seeing you after one long weekend. I did the last class on Thursday, and today is another Tuesday. So, every Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have our editorial classes where I handpick some articles from various newspapers. It could be from Aeon, Guardian, New York Times. It could be from the Hindu, the Indian Express as well sometimes. And we try to discuss various topics, various articles that are very interesting that can come up as reading comprehension in our MBA entrance examination. So that's what our agenda is today. And I have brought only one article today because it's a long one. And the source of the article that I've brought today is New York Times. So I think it's become more of a process, more of a custom where we usually take an Aeon article on Friday, right? Hi, Anuja, Maitreyi, Abhilasha. Hi, everyone. So we usually take an Aeon article on Friday, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing on Friday. I'll be taking an Aeon article. Today, we have one long article from the New York Times. That's what we're going to be discussing. We have 2 pages of vocabulary, many, many new words that you'll come across. We'll memorize them. Make sure you jot them down or take a screenshot of the words because these are high frequency words. Questions can come up directly or indirectly on these words. And towards the end, we'll be discussing the tone of the author and summary and some inferences in between the passages as well. So that's what our agenda of the class is going to be today. And if I proceed, that's the first slide of vocabulary that we have today. Okay. So the first word is enunciating. Enunciating is when you speak clearly in clear words. Your pronunciation is absolutely clear so that you make sense to everyone. That's what enunciating is. She enunciated each word slowly. She pronounced, she spoke everything very clearly with clear pronunciation and no fumbling. That's what enunciation is. Clear speech. Okay, that's the first word. The second phrase is a vantage point. A vantage point is a point where you stand, from where you can have a clear look at the things that surround you, or clear look of anything else for that matter of fact. You go to these mountain places and you see those points where the driver would take you. Ma'am, do you want to cover these points? 5 points today, 10 points today. One of those points is where you could see the entire city from. That could be a vantage point. Vantage point doesn't necessarily mean physical view of something. It could be a mental clear view of something. So we're having a conversation and you say something to me and I have a clear view of what my future is going to be about. I am in a vantage point. So it could be contextually used or it could be literally used for your physical placement from where you could see things absolutely clearly. So that's a vantage point. Okay. Hi, Nandini. So I hope everybody gets what a vantage point is and what is the contextual usage of it and the literal meaning it has. From my vantage point, I could see into the front garden. So the view of the front garden was absolutely clear from the point where you were standing. That's a vantage point. The third word is begetting. Begetting is something that causes something else to happen. Okay, or leads to some other reaction. That's begetting. So killings beget more killings. If there are killings that are happening, it will result in. So I can mark a synonymous phrase as resulting in. Okay, so begets is resulting in something else. Hate speech begets violence, communal violence. If there's hate speech that we indulge into, it will result in communal violence. So begetting means exactly resulting in or causing. Okay. Hi Karthik, I'm absolutely good. And hi Abhiram, sorry. And thank you everyone for asking. I'm absolutely great. Dia says, oh Dia, you found me here. Karthik, you found me here. One of my friend was going to end his life yesterday because he could not make it to an NLU already being a dropper. Can you name that child? Have I taught him? Guys, I'm so sorry for deviating from this topic of the class, but I think I need to address this before anything else. Dia, have I taught him? If I've taught him, could you please tell me his name? I can get in touch with him. These undergraduate kids are trying to hijack my session for CAT. You guys have to give me some time. They just sat for an examination day before yesterday, and I'm sure they're a lot anxious. The most important examination for them happened yesterday. I'm sure all of you will agree, okay? Oh, I haven't. Dia, I'll highly recommend you speak to his parents and ask him to seek some help from some psychiatrist or some counselor. I think that's much, much needed, okay? All right. And Karthik, can I please answer your question in one of my CAT classes? Okay, I'll see you there on that channel, okay? Everyone, let's get back to the agenda of the class. Impede. Okay, impede is obstruction, hindrance, delay, or prevention. So if I say distraction can impede your target of getting through your dream IIM, that's a hindrance. A sap causes swelling, which can impede breathing. So what happens here? It actually hinders your breathing. It hampers, obstructs your breathing. So all of these hinder, delay, prevent, obstructing, all of these are synonyms. Okay. So Rajan, that's a very tricky question. But Rajan, now that you've decided to drop it, just make sure that you put in double the effort that you were putting in before, because now you have to get through your dream IIM for sure. Right? I hope I make sense. Read to the power of infinite. Practice to the power of infinite. Work harder than everybody else. Yes, not getting a good college is not the end of life. Life will show you so many ups and downs. You need to know how to move ahead with it. Take it with a pinch of salt. I know you guys put in a lot of effort, and that's what everyone who's preparing for CAT or any other MBA entrance examination for that fact as well. See, I've been there, I've done that. Not taking my life away, but preparation. Okay? And when I know you guys put in a lot of effort, massive effort to get into your dream college. God forbid if that does not happen, it's not the end of your life. Life has so much to offer, and remember my words, guys, that comes with good 12 years of teaching experience. Remember my words, whatever you do, God forbid you might not get into the best of the dreams that you've had, but whatever you've learned, remember my words, is going to come handy someday or the other. You will remember my words probably 10 years down the line that ma'am said it's going to help me, and it has helped me. That goes for every student who's preparing for any competitive examination, okay? It is going to help you. Remember that. Back to the class. I hope you've taken a screenshot of this slide. That's the first slide of today's words. Let's move on to the next slide, everyone. Slide number 2. Okay, persnickety. Very, very fussy, detail-oriented, possibly somebody who is very obsessive about details and particular about things is persnickety. She's very persnickety about her food. So probably very fussy. This is how my food should be prepared. This is how it should be laid down on the table. The spoon on the right, the fork on the left. Very fussy, very detail oriented is persnickety. Paying attention to minute details is persnickety. Okay? Exactly, Prads. Rajan, if it is worth it, it depends on what else do you have as a choice. Are you ready to drop a year or not? It completely depends on you, my child. It completely depends on you. I might have dropped a year had I been into this college. So that's my answer. Second word, affectation. Affectation is speaking or writing in a manner that you try to be very impressive with. The affectation of a man who measures every word for effect, the way he speaks or the way he writes is a very effective one, very precise one, very calculated one is affectation. I hope you get the meaning of the word. Next word here is precautious. Precautious is, usually, we've done this word in the past, usually used, finicky, yes, Amrit, for persnickety is an exact synonym, okay? Exactly. So precocious is usually used for a child who has developed an interest in something that's beyond the expectation from her age. So probably inclination in philosophy, in art, which we don't expect from a child to have. So very mature for the age the child is in, showing inclination that's beyond the expectation from the child's age is precocious. Okay, so a precocious solitary boy, this boy was solitary, used to stay alone and used to show maturity beyond his age. That's a precocious one. We've done this word in the last few months, if you remember that. And the last word for the slide is in a wry manner. Wryly, speaking wryly is speaking very sarcastically, bluntly, not emotional, no emotional content in a mocking way, very dry and ruthless way is a wry manner of speaking. He reflects wryly on his life and work. So he probably mocks about his life. He talks about his life with a pinch of salt, not very seriously. So not serious is wryly. That's the last slide that we have, slide number 2. Take a very quick screenshot, everyone. Okay. All right. Now let us move to the articles. But before, and it's a very interesting one. You're going to love reading that. And before I move to the articles, a few things. Meet our unstoppables, the toppers of CAT 2021. We have Prathamesh, Ashish, Vishwanath, and many, many more. And if you want to be one of those, please enroll yourself right away for our CAT 22 comprehensive program. If you wish to be trained under the guidance of serial 199 percentilers, rush up, enroll yourself. The contact number of our counselors is at the bottom scroll bar that's going on. Speak to them, know more about the programs, but make sure you rush up because you do not have a lot of time left for these examinations to happen, specifically CAT. So we shall see you in the classes very, very soon. Here we come with our article. Sometimes proper speech isn't correct speech. Okay, now see, you guys see me, you guys have been seeing me for quite a while now. I come twice a week. And even before that, I used to come at least once a week. And you know the way of talking that I have. I don't talk in a very perfect manner. My pronunciation may not be exactly how Britishers or Americans expect it to be. Okay. Sometimes I use slangs as well in the class. And sometimes I use words like I'm gonna do it, and I wanna do it, and sort. So this speech isn't a proper speech that you expect. But then, will you call this speech incorrect? Yes, please tell me, Nandini, what's your request? For others, will you call this speech incorrect? Or because it's not proper, okay, it's not perfect. Will you call this speech incorrect? I'd like to know your point of view here before I show you the article. This article appeared in the New York Times. What's your answer? And Nandini, what's your request? No, you would not call it incorrect, right? You will still call it correct because you get the whole idea. And do you understand? I am not indulging into a conversation that's a very formal one. It's an informal class that we have we meet each other and we have an informal conversation. The idea is that every time we use slangs or an informal way of talking or using a hi Subendu or using gonna and wanna, you can't call it incorrect speech. So that is what the article is about. It is about using a formal and an informal way of talking and which one of them is correct. So the article talks about language. Read the page and send me done when you're done. Oh, Yes, Nandini, I'm going to do that. Thank you for reminding me. I'll do that. Rohit, that's the point. From the perspective of English, it might be incorrect. That's exactly what the article talks about. Read it. So you see, the teacher said, don't use gonna and wanna. But then that coming from a teacher is obviously understood because it's the teacher, and a teacher is supposed to teach you absolutely perfect rule-based English. That's what we focus on, right? The grammar rule says this, the vocab rule says this, the etymology rule says this. That's exactly what the teacher does. The teacher said don't use gonna and wanna because there are no such words in the dictionary. And the child was convinced. Now, the first question that I have, what do you think is the author's opinion? The author agrees to the teacher or disagrees with the teacher? It's a layman language, yeah. So, is this, what is the author's opinion? Does he support the teacher or does he not? If you read the last line, you'll know the answer. He says, I'm going to diverge from this guidance, the guidance that the teacher gave. The teacher said, don't use these words. These are not there even in the dictionary. So when he says, I'm going to diverge, the author disagrees to the opinion given by the teacher. He already has used gonna. Exactly. So that's the whole. See, he focuses on this word and he says, I'm gonna diverge. So he basically believes into the usage of these words. And mind my words, the author here is a linguistic person. He's a linguist. Okay? So he disagrees with the author, with the teacher. Let's see how does he disagree. So he gives you a first pointer. Though I should know that her teachers are excellent. See, read the whole page and send me done. I'll give you a few questions here. And see, he is so polite here in the first paragraph. So you see the first paragraph here in this page is so polite. He's just trying to say, teachers, you're doing a great job. Teachers, what you do is something I can't even do. So basically he's trying to be very pacifying to the teacher so that the teacher probably, if the teacher reads the article, the teacher is not offended. Okay, he's very polite here. The whole paragraph he says that okay, you're doing a great job. I can't even do what you're doing. And then he uses this word. Remember, every time I tell you this, if there's a contradiction, everything that comes before it becomes a useless thing because the author's point is going to come only after the contradictory word. And that's his point of view. He says, yet, I think the issue about gonna and wanna, it needs unpacking. Open the Pandora box. You know what a Pandora box is? Once you open it, lot of problems start coming out and you can't control them. He says this issue merits unpacking. Let's unpack it. Let's talk about this issue. Let's know about my opinion on usage of gonna and wanna. To start, gonna and wanna are there in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So he says the claim the teacher made that they're not there in the dictionary is a false one. They are there in the dictionary. Okay. And they are mentioned as pronunciation spelling. Now, what's pronunciation spelling? If you pronounce this phrase quickly, it might sound like gonna. So, going to, gonna, or want to, wanna. So, when you pronounce them quickly, that's how you spell the word. That's exactly what pronunciation spelling is. How you pronounce the word when you speak them quickly is how the spelling becomes. And the dictionary clearly says this is a pronunciation spelling. He also calls it a contraction. Everyone, please understand what a contraction is, because this word will be referred to many times later on in the passage. A contraction is basically when you combine two words, usually with an apostrophe, like shouldn't and shan't and needn't and wouldn't. Okay, so what you do is would not, need not, shall not. You combine two words by adding an apostrophe. So the difference between a pronunciation spelling and a contraction is a contraction will have an apostrophe, a pronunciation spelling will not have one. So he says you can also call these gonna and wanna as contractions. And we always use contractions so many times in formal writing as well. I do that in my official mails. Okay. So ultimately you can combine these two as only one type of word. Let's move on. Let's see, understand what the author's point of view is. Perhaps there's a prescribed pedagogical practice. What's a pedagogy? A pedagogy is a methodology of teaching. Okay. The root word here is ped. Ped is for child. Okay. So how you teach a child is your pedagogy. Now, the author says possibly not using gonna and wanna is prescribed as a pedagogical practice. That the rules say do not use them. To instruct children to speak without these contractions. Don't use these contractions because the rules say that. When you open Wren and Martin, you will never find gonna and wanna. You will not even find contractions like didn't and needn't. Okay? You'll find need not, did not, completely written. So the rules say, pedagogical practices say, don't use contractions. Or a philosophical sense that to speak properly is to enunciate a phrase going to. So he says, if you use these words, you're speaking properly. So probably using gonna and wanna is an improper way according to the pedagogical practice of English. Yeah, but if it's anything like that notion, it is unsuitably broad. Possibly my daughter heard the teachers as referring to all speech when they meant something more specific. What did the teacher meant while being more specific, but the daughter thought everywhere don't use gonna and wanna? I'll repeat my question, everyone. Ma'am, there's an article, The Myth of Mad Genius on Aeon. I'll find that article probably. I'll take that tomorrow. Let me go through that, okay? Alright, so my question is that the author says probably the daughter misunderstood the teacher. The teacher wanted to say specific occasions do not use gonna and wanna. The daughter thought don't use gonna and wanna everywhere. What could be the specific occasions the teacher might refer to for not using gonna and wanna? What do you think? What do you think would be the specific occasion the teacher said do not use gonna and wanna in? Anyone? Formal speech. Simple as that. When you speak formally, write formal mails, formal letters, you're not gonna say this to your principal for an application for leave. I'm gonna take a leave because I'm not well. You're not going to write that, right? But then when you're speaking to a friend, you could use gonna and wanna. So the author seems to be very miffed with what the teacher says, right? So talking to a professional, that's exactly how you define language in two ways, formal and informal. And they have differences in vocabulary and grammar. You will not use gonna and wanna in grammar as well. See, when you listen to rap songs, you always hear double negatives. You see them? I ain't nothing. I didn't know nothing. So you see double negatives. In grammar, that's not permissible, but then that's an informal way of talking. I don't know nothing. That's an informal way of talking, and that's why an informal way of talking will have different vocabulary and different grammar. So putting them completely under a blind blanket of not using them is wrong according to the author. Linguistics as a science includes a subfield called sociolinguistics. It's an easy word. Don't be baffled with the length of the word. Linguistic, understanding language. Social linguistic, understanding language from the perspective of how the society uses it. Society may use it informally, and we can't omit social linguistic completely when we talk about linguistics. So again, putting them under a blanket is wrong. So, and being trained in it includes understanding that people speak differently and different contexts. Making that point initially struck me as hammering on something rather obvious. So he said, that's obvious that informal language will use gonna and wanna and formal language will not use gonna and wanna. However, he said it was obvious. However, there's another contradiction. Please pay attention to the contradiction. However, I've realized that it can be hard for people to get quite past an idea that written language in its permanence and formality is the real thing, while casual speech can be seen as a mere approximation, full of messy flouting rules. So he said that there are two types of speech, formal and informal. Formal one, following rules, grammar, vocabulary perfectly. Informal one, there could be many rules broken. But are they incorrect? No, they aren't, because if you're talking and using these words in informal speech, it's permissible, it's not wrong. It makes sense to tell students to avoid contractions like gonna and wanna in formal language. Of course it does. You're not going to write an essay using gonna and wanna, since there's a long tradition of English of doing so, and traditions die hard. Read this line very carefully, everyone. It might be tricky for you. Read this line very carefully. The author says, what are rules in grammar? Rules are traditions, something that has already been made and being followed over and over again. I'll give you an example here. The rules, if you open Wren and Martin, the grammar rule says I and we, the first person, will always be followed by shall. And the second person, you, and the third person, she or he, will always be followed by will. That's the basic grammar rule that Wren and Martin or any other grammar book suggests. But can I not say I will go? Or can I not say she shall go? I can say that. But grammar books will never do that. The modern rule says will be used only with certainty and shall will be used only with probability. So this is an obsolete rule, but grammar books will still abide by that. Every sentence that the grammar book has, I will be followed by a shall and never a will. That is, there's a tradition that goes on and on and on. And this tradition, it dies hard. And that's why the rules are being followed till date. So the entire fiasco over gone and wanna probably will not die very, very soon. But there's also a tradition of using contractions. We've been using them for quite a while now. And similarly, the tradition of using contractions will also die hard. I use the apostrophe contraction a lot. Won't, didn't. I usually don't write did not. I use contractions a lot. And probably that is also a practice that will die hard. Contractions are a natural consequence of uttering words close together repeatedly over aeons of time. So if I usually say, I didn't do it, I usually don't say, I did not do it. When I say I didn't do it because I speak faster, I ought to write it that way. So the author says, if rules are traditions, so are informal speech, and both are going to die hard. You can't ask one to change for the other, and vice versa. That's what his explanation is here. Before I show you the next slide, did you like my video? If you haven't done that, please do that right now. Subscribe to the channel and share my... You guys have stopped sharing that. Neha says, but ma'am, when someone proposes, we say, I will, not I shall. Exactly. Because, okay, see, it's a proposal. And you, while making a proposal, in your mind, are very determined for it. And that's exactly why you say, I will. Because in your head, you're convinced with it. So it's more of a certainty that the proposal will be accepted. And that's exactly why you use I will. Now, the whole ideology is that the rule about I being followed by a shall is obsolete one. It can be followed by a will, can be followed by a shall. And remember, when you solve tenses, you will never get a question on differentiating between will and shall because they are interchangeably used and you cannot determine the intention of the author if it is a certainty or a probability. Thus, they are interchangeably used now. I hope I made sense, Neha. Got reminded of a sentence that word power made easy. If you're going to speak perfect English, whom are you going to talk to? Exactly. And also other people, if you're not solving word power made easy, I'll highly recommend that you do. Since we're talking about language today, I'll highly recommend you solve that book. Your vocabulary is going to increase manifolds and it's going to be a very easy technique of word power made easy. Thank you, Prats. Thank you, my child. Now, we know the author's opinion that he is a promoter of Gone and Wano. But then we only know the point that speaking informally, it's permissible and formally, it's not permissible. But there's something else to it that we haven't read yet. Let's move on. There's an example, a beautiful example that the author has given, which is going to take your heart. Let's move on to that. Now see, he says contractions are eternal. And then there's this colon. Can I know what's going to happen here without reading it? Can I anticipate? Can I anticipate what's going to happen after contractions are eternal? Contractions are cross-linguistically normal. Can I, without reading what happens after that, anticipate what the author might write? I can, right? It's so easy. And that's how you skim. That is how you skim, my children. You don't read everything. Because when you read everything, trust me, you'll never be able to finish Cat's English section in time. So I'm not going to read that for you. You know, when he says contractions are eternal, he's going to explain that furthermore. When he says contractions are cross-linguistically normal, he will explain that as well. You skim through it. Let's leave this part. Let's move on to the next page, everyone. Contractions don't impede clarity. Again, another point that he makes and he explains that. So he says, if, in a nutshell, I can anticipate, he says, if contractions are used, your understanding will not be hampered. If I say gonna, you will ultimately understand what I'm trying to say. If I say don't, you will understand I'm trying to say do not. You will read it that way. So it ultimately doesn't hinder your understanding, hinder your clarity of the paragraph. So he focuses rather on promotion of usage of contractions, rather not using it. I suggested to my daughter that she consider following this particular advice given by her teacher, at least when she isn't around them. So the author is trying to promote using Gone and Wanna here to her daughter. But I also recognize that the fact that she learned the lesson so well may be evidence of just how effective her teachers are. Before she and I talked about it, I hadn't heard a Gone and Wanna from her in months. What can we infer here? We can infer that the teachers did not use Gonna and Wanna at all. And when the teachers did not use it, the daughters followed the teacher. The daughter followed the teachers. And when the teachers did not use it, the daughter also did not use it. And this had been happening for quite a while. Now, when the author said, you can probably skip what your teachers taught you sometimes in an informal tone. What do you think? Did the daughter follow the father by using Gone and Wanna, or did the daughter follow the teacher by not using Gone and Wanna? What do you think happened? Let me see your anticipation. Exactly, Amrit. He's substantiating his claims, expressing examples supporting the claim made here. Now you tell me, what did the daughter do? Did the daughter follow the advice given by the teacher completely, discarding the father's advice, or did the daughter follow the father's advice as well? Let's see if you can anticipate it. Teacher, you can put yourself in the daughter's shoes and understand what the daughter would have done. At a certain age, the teacher is like the god to you. And you would do what your teachers ask you to do blindly. Yes, you guys are absolutely right. The daughter discarded what the father said. Perhaps being the child of a persnickety dad who crosses his ankles when he sits in an armchair. So he tries to call himself very fussy. That's how you should sit in an armchair, crossing your ankles. And that's how he sits. Who pays so much attention to details? This man does. This linguist does. He had something to do with her receptivity of the idea. We may never know, but I'm worried that other kids might sense it as an affectation, a kind of precocious fuddy-duddism. So he's basically explaining that people might think I'm crazy, I'm a persnickety old dad, but then that's what I believe in. Formal and informal speech being different. And in a way, speaking casually but without contractions is a way of not speaking well. Now, look at this example. This will have your heart. It's so beautiful. He quotes an example from an HBO series, Barry, and the 5th episode, there's an instance. Let's understand the instance, okay? That this instance will explain something beyond the formality and informality of the usage of gonna and wanna. So, he says there's a character who insists on taking over a grim task, a very serious task, in a pressure-packed situation. Do you see the seriousness of the situation? It's a pressure-packed situation. It's a task that he's going to take. He is going to take. Did you hear that? And says in an increasing urgency. He says this with a lot of pressure in his head. And I'm going to do it. I am doing it. Not I am, right? I'm doing it. Do you hear me? I'm going to do it. It would have been tone deaf if this character said, I am going to do it. I am going to do it. How did it sound? Very proper, but very convincing? No, not at all. It would not have been convincing because the situation demanded that casualness, the usage of gonna, the pressure. Because you're speaking faster, because you're speaking with a lot of urgency. It did not sound convincing if you said it like this. And that's why, situation-wise, maybe an informal one, or maybe the situation demands you to say it in this manner. I use so much of gonna and wanna because that's my informal way of connecting with you. I don't want to abide by the rules all the time. That's not what my teaching pedagogy is. And I always go by logic in English, always. I'm a logic-oriented person and I abide by logic even in English, even in grammar. I never ratify the rules, cram them, because that's my way of teaching. And that's why I use so much of gone and wanna, because I think situation demands me to use it. So because it is situational, it's allowed for you to use it. Hi Kanak, good to see you here. But the last line implies that before the talk, the daughter had not used the words in a month. And after that, she didn't. Amrit, she didn't. She never used them before. And teachers are gods for children, right? And the dad himself calls himself a persnickety one. The daughter probably discarded what the father said. Let's read what the daughter did. After we talked about this issue, my daughter wryly said to me and her sister, my dad is teaching me not to speak well. Ah, the plight of the linguist parent. The plight is the difficult situation of the linguist parent. What does he do? The daughter does not listen to him. I have no doubt that she'll grow up able to speak well, inverted commas. See, because the entire article is about speaking well with proper rules. But part of speaking well is being able to speak right. I want to make sure she can speak right. And that right can be possibly using gonna and wanna in certain situations where it's needed. So certainly we can conclude that the daughter did not listen to the dad. The daughter said, my dad is crazy. He's teaching me now how not to speak well. But the author has some other plans altogether. Okay? Did you get it, Amrit? Did you get your answer? Persnickety Kanak Joshi. Persnickety is very fussy about minute details. Kanak, from the next time I'll expect you to come from the beginning of the class at 10 because I discuss all these words in the beginning. So you'll not be stuck with the meaning of the words, okay? It's a catch-22 for the kid and the child as well. Sorry, kid and the father as well. Yes. Okay. So now you know the gist of the passage. I have a very important question for you. Be very attentive with my question, okay? My question is, are gonna and wanna a part of the main theme or a part of the premise? Be very careful. Don't be impulsive while you answer. I will, Amrit. Answer this question first. Gonna and wanna, are they part of the main theme or are they part of the premise only? Think carefully, don't be impulsive, and answer this question. Anyone? What's your answer? Premise? Okay. Okay, Prads. Others? Premise? Premise. Everyone says premise. Yes, it is a part of the premise. The main thing. No, Sai, understand this. I'll try to put some logic here. Sai, instead of gone and wanna, if I used any other examples, my main theme would remain the same, right? So basically, gonna and wanna are merely examples used to tell that formal speech and informal speech are two different ways, and using contractions isn't incorrect. Exactly, Prads. That's the main theme. Prads, you've been writing main theme for quite a while. You're getting the hang of it now. I can see that. Exactly, Amrit. That's the main theme. Gonna and wanna are merely examples to explain the main theme written by Prads and Amrit. Do you buy my point, Sai? Yes? Okay. So it's basically a part of the premise only. Now that you've already told me the main theme, your homework is to write down the tone of the author under my video in the comment section, which I'll be checking. Somebody wanted to know the second paragraph, second page, first paragraph. This one? Okay. So here basically the author says that he is just about to counter what the teacher has said. So before countering, the author is saying, see, teachers, you're doing a very, it's like saying, Mama, your mom saying, see, you study a lot, my child, and you're very hardworking, but you don't get marks. So what is important? You studying hard? No. She's only pacifying it before giving you a tight slap that you don't get marks. This is the same manner of explaining things, that teachers, you're doing a very good job. You're very hardworking, dealing through the pandemic. I couldn't even do what you've done, but I disagree with what you've said. That's the gist of the paragraph here. Okay? Second last page. Okay, second last page. This one. Okay, so this paragraph basically says that he shows himself in a light using this fuddy-duddyism, persnickety, precautious. He basically shows himself in a light that he's too obsessed, okay, with fine, minute details because he's a linguist. But he clearly wants her daughter to speak well. That might be incorrect, but speaking according to the situation. And that's why he is so persnickety here. And then he goes on to explain why he wants his daughter to still use gonna and wanna. That's an example to justify his opinion here, that he might be very persnickety, yet he will focus on the usage of this informal language. Okay, that's what this paragraph talks about. So before I wind up my class, your homework, don't forget to write down the tone under my video in the comment section. I shall be checking each tone. Don't forget to like the video. Don't leave without liking, commenting, sharing and subscribing to the channel. please share my video. Do this little favor to me. And please follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, and download our app on Google Play. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a very, very good day. No. Oh, Amrit, now I get your point. Now I get your point. Okay, I'll get back to the paragraph. I'll explain this. Okay, so he says, perhaps being the child of a pernickety dad, this daughter, and this dad who crosses his ankles when he sits in an armchair had something to do with her receptivity to the idea. It's a question, okay? He says, was she receptive to the idea of what I was teaching to her? We may never know that. We may never know that. But I'm worried that other kids might sense it. Other kids might think of he being very persnickety and very obsessed. But was she receptive to the idea? I may never know. And in the end, the author says, he quotes his daughter, my dad is teaching me not to speak well. That means she disagrees to the idea of what the father has. Now, did you get why the daughter was not very receptive to the idea? It's only a question, Amrit. Okay? I hope I was able to answer this question, Amrit. So everyone, have a very, very good day. God bless you. I shall see you on Thursday again with an Aeon article. Bye, everyone.